My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, a podcast that brings you exclusive interviews from experts all over the world with life-changing work that you didn't even know existed. I'm your host, Prima Job, a partner for those that are ready to take their life-changing work in front of those whose life or business depends on it. Please follow or subscribe for more. Welcome to today's conversation, and I am super excited. Today, I have someone that I have a word for her, and the word is free and fearless. I think that's a word I like to use to describe my guest today. In a world of chaos and everything going in whatever direction, I have found her to be in this free zone, carefree, and doesn't really mind what's happening in the world. She is doing her thing and she's all in doing her thing. She doesn't really know or see the chaos or whatever. So if you feel like you want to tap into that world of freedom, a world where you're free despite who's fighting and what's going off, my guest is for you. I first met Lunalia when I went to her podcast, and I thought she had some amazing stuff. In today's world, to find someone who is as raw, as authentic as Lunalia, you'd have to scroll quite a bit. Someone who's not trying to show up on social media and be something they're not. Someone who is really bringing the raw, unfiltered to the world. I find it fascinating because today it's really hard to find anyone who's not trying to show up and make up appearances and look, more successful. Luna is a passionate advocate for human flourishing, fascinated by human behavior, and she's been in the weeds for a decade. So I can say that she has loads of wisdom from the school of hard knocks. She uses NLP, she uses spiritual insights, and she uses her personal experiences, her raw and authentic social media presence. I tell you, if you're looking for unfiltered, that's Luna for you. Has attracted over 40,000 followers. Luna does coaching. She's an author. Her work really empowers people to embrace who they are and step into that potential they didn't even know existed. Luna's mission is to instill confidence and self-love as a foundation for a fulfilled and successful life for those that are lucky to be in her world. She's a 2-time Amazon best-selling author, and her recent release, Get Happy and Free, Unlocking the Happiness Code, has already made it to bestseller on Amazon. Lunalia, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast. I can't tell you how excited I am to have you today.
That was an absolutely killer introduction. I don't think I've ever had such an introduction of so aptly describing me and that authenticity and the wild and free, no matter the chaos that is happening. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for saying yes. Before we dive in, could you tell the listener in a minute what you do? I have a tendency of saying everything, and sometimes they're like, oh, she's amazing, but what does she do? Could you tell them what exactly, precisely you do, how you help people?
I teach people how to have an incredible relationship with themselves. We spend all this time, energy, money, resources trying to figure out how to have a really great relationship with other people and how to get everything we've ever wanted. But very few of us actually spend the time to have a phenomenal relationship with ourselves. And actually, having a phenomenal relationship with ourselves is the very thing that will determine all other factors in our life, including relationships. So I really teach you how to overcome your fear, how to master your mind, and how to translate your emotions so that you can be the very best that you can be and the truest version of you without all the bells and whistles, just you as you are in your absolute divinity.
I love it. Isn't it amazing? We can learn about how to be better spouses, how to be better this, better parents, better this. But when it comes to our own life, we have no relationship with ourselves. I'm really excited to be diving into this. But before we do, Luna, tell us how you got into all this. I know it's been a minute into this world, but can you take us back and let us in? How did you start? How did you get into this old world? How did you get so ballistic?
Yeah, look, I think it's one of those things. I've been as you so aptly described.
Mm,
I am so fascinated by human behavior.
mm,
You know, as a kid, I used to just watch people. I was just always an observer, watching how people behaved, watching how people acted, and sitting on a park bench watching people interact was so fascinating to me. It continues to be to this day.
mm,
And I really came to this place because I was suffering and looking for answers, looking for why am I in pain? Why do I hate myself? Why do I have all these behaviors that aren't working for me? Why am I not getting the results? Because Prima, there was always this sense in me that I was meant for something bigger. I could always feel this part of me that could be more, yet I
mm,
was stuck in my smallness. And so
mm,
those two things seemed so far away from one another.
mm,
Who I was, the small game that I was playing and the small life that I was living compared to this person that I felt was actually inside of me.
mm,
And so it was through pain, it was through suffering, it was through trying to drink my way into happiness, trying to, you know, validate myself through sexual partners into worthiness. It was
mm,
through, eating my way into feeling whole again,
mm,
losing weight, putting it on, drug taking, travel, whatever it was, you name it, I tried it and none of it worked.
mm,
And I was very fortunate enough to stumble across or being gifted into or destined to fall into personal development.
mm.
I did door to door karate sales when I
Wow.
was in my early 20s. And when you're a salesperson, they give you these personal development CDs. And I was given Brian Tracy and, psychology of selling. And I used to go drive up and down the coast with these CDs in the car. And that was really my first introduction to personal development. And I have not turned back since. I'm thirsty for it. I'm hungry for it constantly. And pulling that thread of, oh, hang on a second, maybe my beliefs aren't solid. Maybe they're not fact has
Mm.
changed everything for me. And that's been now a good 20 years.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Mm.
Let's dive into what is behind you, the Amazon bestseller. Let's dive into the Get Happy and Free, Unlocking the Happiness Code. What's the story behind that? And what do you wish the listener would understand from this book if they were to pick it up?
Oh, a bit of a story behind this is that in my pursuit of my own development, in my pursuit of diving deeper into my own psyche, last year I completed my second Vipassana. Do you know what a Vipassana is, Prima? Have you
No
heard that term
idea.
before?
No idea.
Vipassana is a meditation technique most famously known for its 10-day course. And
Mm,
it's not just a 10-day course where you go off into the wilderness,
mm,
but it's a 10-day silent meditation retreat.
mm,
And you meditate from 4:30 in the morning to 9:30 at night with a few breaks. You fast from midday until 6:30 in the morning every day, and you keep a noble silence, which means no eye contact, no gestures, no reading or writing material, no phones, no contact with anybody. You're around other people, but you are to not you're there to go within. And
wow.
this is my second time I did it back in October, just after my 40th last year. And on about day 6 of this particular training, on my second time round, the title of this book came into me.
Mm,
And Get Happy and Free. It landed in my head. And over the next 4 or 5 days in silence, I couldn't do anything about it. I had all these ideas. The book was coming to me, and I just had to stay in meditation for the next 4 days. And coming back into the world, it's a bit of an adjustment. So I didn't just come back in and start writing. But
mm,
a week, in about a
mm.
week of the finishing that Vipassana, I started writing, and 3 weeks later, the book was finished. So
Wow.
it's a channel of really what does it take to be free? We are a slave to our minds, our reactive
Mm,
minds.
mm.
You said in my intro that, irrelevant of the chaos that's going on in the world, I seem to be pretty centered, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that life doesn't throw curveballs at me. It doesn't mean that I'm not affected by the world news, and I certainly don't have my head in the sand. it's about understanding how do we overcome our reactive mind so that we
Mm.
stop just being, oh, this thing, this thing. We stop nexting our life away, thinking that it's the next thing that's going to make us happy. Can we master what's going on between our ears, learn how to lead our fear, deal with our complicated and confronting emotions, and then
Mm.
we get happy and free?
Wow.
Knowing that it's within us already, we just need to learn how to cultivate it. And that's what I teach in the book.
The word I like to describe this as is the calm, the peace in a storm, like in the middle of everything falling apart. Luna is there meditating. Like, I know it's a dream for most people. I think I do that, but I don't have a formula. So naturally,
Mm,
I will just not be involved. My phone, I never know what's happening in the world. Like I am just ignorant. I don't know what's happening in the news. I don't know who is celebrating
mm,
what on social media. I just manually, practically shut it down. But I love that you actually have an internal process and you've studied these things and you're applying these formulas. Because if you ask me how I do it, my husband asked me like, how can you sleep for 10 hours? And I'm like, I just do. It's like, how can you be so calm when the house is on fire? I'm like, I don't know. But to know that you've put this in a formula, step by step, a book, you've written it, it is so fascinating for me. But Luna, I want us to go back to your meditation. What do you believe is happening in that? Is it like you're forced to live by yourself? Is it that you're forced to connect with you? Like, what is the essence of this meditation, and what does it help people do? I love it because I think there is so many people who can't be alone by themselves for 5 minutes. I want to take us more into that and kind of tell us what it does, and I want people to understand what it is. Just go on. Okay, let's pause. Oh.
But I heard that you were like, your husband always asks you, how do you do it? You tend to just shut it out, then you have the formula. That was the last part I heard.
I've never sat down to write a process, but what I know is that I don't want to be on social media when it's not time. So when I go on social media, I have 30 minutes and I'm going to send messages, reply messages, post, go away. If I decide to go and interact with people's posts, I'm going to say I have 15 minutes. I'm going to go and check what my friends are doing. I'm going to support their work and I'm out. Like I don't have the rush, the drip, the addiction to just keep going because I don't know, I just manually turn it off. I check my email in the morning and the evening. The rest of the time, I don't.
Mm.
I just have a way of sleeping for 10 hours, but I leave my phone in the living room. So I am very mechanical when it comes to, how I stay sane. But I can imagine that for most people, it's not like that. Like my husband struggles to just be still for 5 minutes. I'm like, dude,
Mm.
is there a time in your day when you don't do anything? When you're not trying to do something, trying to make something happen, trying to talk to somebody, trying to be on the phone. And he's just like, what am I supposed to do? Just being still. And so I understand that while I can do it, he actually can't do it. And I wanted you to kind
Mm.
of take us there, like take us through that meditation, because I feel like that's what my husband needs. But whether he can survive through it is another question. Take us
Yeah, look,
there.
I mean,
Like,
I said,
how does that work?
I don't, I mean, it sounds funny. It takes a certain kind of crazy to do that, right? To go do the 10 days, let alone twice. And I've got friends and I know people who've done it multiple, more than twice as well. Look,
Wow.
I think it's one of those mental challenges for me.
Mm,
And, you know, it's about increasing mindfulness rather than
mm,
meditation. Like I don't necessarily meditate every day, even now,
mm,
right? So I'm always going to be truthful. It's not that I have a meditation practice every day, but I can feel that sense of when my nervous system starts to get turned on and turned up and
mm,
everything starts to become ampy and angsty,
mm,
like got to keep up, got to go to the next thing. I can feel the mind starting to race.
mm,
And, I think that the Dalai Lama once famously said, if you don't have time to meditate for 10 minutes, then you need to meditate for an hour.
mm,
And and look, as I said, look, I the book isn't about meditation. My work isn't about meditation. It's cool if you want to do it and you're curious. To me, Prima, it's about our whole life is meditation. Because a lot of people would say, I can't meditate. My mind wanders off. And I say to them this, that's the point. The very point of meditation is that your mind's going to wander off and you bring it back. It's the act of bringing it back that is meditation. And you can do that in your life. You can do that in your waking moments. So here I'm present with you, but my mind could be off thinking about tomorrow. It could be thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner. It could be pondering, the world's crises while I'm here attempting to be present with you. The trick is to be able to train our minds, and it is training. This is what I really want to drive home, and I talk about this in the book. We are out of shape. We are, if we think about our mind as a muscle, most of us are really out of shape. We're not trained at all. So meditation or even mindfulness or presence is about when our mind wanders off, and it tells a story about, we just had there could be an interruption in a podcast recording, right? The internet goes, something happens. My mind could make up a story. Oh my gosh, I've failed. What's Prima going to think? The audience is going to this and that. My mind can run off into problems, which is what the mind does. The mind is designed to keep us safe, not to make us happy. So when it goes off on its tangents, our job as the leader, the master of our minds, is to bring it back, which is exactly the same thing that we're doing in formal meditation. You bring the mind back, you're sharpening the mind. And that's really what this is about. It's doing the reps, building your strong muscles by lifting heavy things.
I like where this is going. The mind is a muscle and you gotta build it. Just like you go build your body, you gotta build the muscles of the body. Before we dive into that, tell us exactly who you work with and what you help them do. Like, who is coming to you? What problem do they have? And from there, I want you to take us through, okay, so what's step 1 to X of that process of getting them from where they are to where they're going? But first, who is it? What problem are they having today? And what are they seeking for when they come to you?
Yeah. So it's pretty likely that you've lived a decent life. You're likely to be in your middle age, maybe. And as my friend would say, we're 40. That's not middle aged. Yeah. Yeah. But, you're 40, 50. You've gone along in your life and you've ticked all the boxes. You've done a whole bunch of things that you thought you were meant to do. And you still feel like there's more. There's something inside of you, and you know that there's some sort of mission or life's work that you want to bring out, but you've been playing small. And you've been playing a little bit, but you really want to take it to the next level. You are somebody who has got something to say in the world, but your conditioning and your programming is holding you back. And you know it. You're stuck. You're in a bit of a holding pattern. It's not that your life is crap. You're not just surviving, but you're not flourishing and thriving the way that you really know that you could be. And so the very first thing that I do when someone comes to and works with me from a coaching perspective, certainly from a one-on-one perspective, let's get really clear. Let's get really, really clear on where we're going. Who do you want to be? What kind of values do you want to have? Who do you want to become? That truth that exists within inside of you, who is that? And that can be a really difficult question to ask, to answer, for people to go, I have no idea. That's why I'm the coach, because I'm going to help you explore the parts in you that you don't know. You walk into the unknown and I hold your hand every single step of the way. So we get really, really clear on who it is that is calling you, because it is a higher calling. You're getting called to something higher beyond you. We tap into that version of you. And then the process, Prima, is much like the way that Michelangelo sculpted David. Michelangelo very famously was asked, how did you sculpt David, this huge statue? And Michelangelo said, I didn't sculpt David. I just removed everything that wasn't David and he appeared.
Wow.
And that's what we do in our work. That's what I do in our work. We remove everything that you aren't, your limits, your barriers, your conditioning, who you think that you're meant to be, all of those identity constructs that are no longer serving you. Let's pull those all back layer by layer by layer, so that true you, that essence of you actually comes to life and you can get on with doing your life's work, because we need you. And I say we need, if you're a listener right now and you know that there's something bigger for you,
Mm.
we don't need more people who are greedy, sucking the life from the world, trying to steal power from other people. We need empowered individuals who are healing themselves and doing the healing work for others.
Wow. I like that.
Mm.
So I've always told people, my coaches, anybody I hired, that you see me here, I have an opera in me, and no one has successfully pulled out that opera to the world. Like there's that knowing, you look at someone and you're like, yeah, I could be that and 10 times more or 100 times more. So I've always told my coaches that, you see, I have an opera in me or more, but I feel like everybody sees me here on this place where I am,
Mm.
a girl from Uganda. And I'm like, I am not that. There's that opera version of
Mm-mm.
me. There's that beast, if I can say beast. Is that person in me that nobody seems to help me to pull out. So I think what I get from Luna is there's that knowing that you have that, what, I'm really meant for big things, There's a
Mm.
calling on me that is definitely bigger than what I have been doing in my life. And you're at
Yeah.
this point where you're like, I am no longer willing to play small. I'm no
Mhm.
longer willing to just move around, not stepping into my potential. I'm no longer
Mm.
willing to die and not have the real legacy that I want behind. And so what she's saying is then there is a process that starts to happen where you get clear on that, you get clear on your values, and everything else that doesn't look like that has to go slowly, but
Correct.
slowly. You have to peel off all those masks, all those layers until your true essence stays. I like that,
Yes.
Luna. Is there a way we can take them a little bit deeper to kind of get a real good understanding of, oh my God, like what are we peeling off? What I want them to kind of really get
Mm.
the process of doing it, and they go, can you hold my, like, is this possible for me?
Yeah.
Could you take, is there anything more you can share for us to kind of see this process like more clearly?
How long have you got?
So,
Yes, I can definitely give you something. And look, I think that this very first step here is that in order to come back into wholeness, right? We need to actually do a little bit more separation
mm,
because we have convinced ourselves that we are our mind. And
mm,
what I would refer to, especially in Get Happy and Free, my second book, it's the ego. Now, the
mm,
ego gets a bit of a bad rap. In the
mm,
ego, someone's egotistical, they have tickets on themselves, they're arrogant. That's not what the ego is.
mm,
The ego is our identity construct. It's made up of our conditioning, our beliefs, our our character. It's who we think that we are.
mm,
And it's all of that ever since childhood. Between the ages of 0 and 7 is known as the imprint period, according to NLP,
mm,
Neuro-Linguistic Programming. The imprint period is where you create meaning for everything. Men means this, girls mean that, money equals this, Uganda equals that, Australia equals this. We are meaning making machines, and we are
mm,
literally going around labeling everything.
mm,
And yet, very few of us go and check in to see if those labels are accurate.
mm,
And so the work that we need to do is to go back. We need to look at the blueprint that we created from the ages of 0 to 7. And
mm,
then from 7 to 14 is known as socialization. It's where we are modeling those around us. So our
mm,
parents, our school teachers, and maybe now for younger kids, social media and the media in general, we're modeling.
mm,
I
mm,
want to be cool like that person.
mm,
Yeah, that's the modeling period from 14 to 21 is known as socialization. We're trying on different kind of outfits, different characters. But
mm,
what we need to understand is that these are exactly the word I've just said. They're characters.
mm,
They are someone that we are playing. And that's why so many of us feel like an imposter. So many of
mm,
us feel like we're undeserving. So many of us feel like, oh, this is not who I am, or I'm faking it till you make it. That's
mm,
because all we're doing is building more of the character inside of us rather than getting to the essence.
mm,
So we first want to separate ourselves from our beliefs and our thoughts.
mm,
there's an assumption that most of us have, Prima, that our thoughts are fact. Most people haven't even thought about that, but I want everyone to stop right now. And have you ever doubted your thoughts? I just want everybody for a moment just to have a think, pause for a moment in this. Have you ever stopped to go, hang on a second, maybe that thought that says I'm unworthy or I'm unvaluable or I could never do that? What if that wasn't true?
Wow.
And
A
if
whole
that wasn't
different
true,
game.
it's a whole different game, right? If you start sitting there going, okay, the thought's there, it's not about ignoring them. I'm not one for toxic positivity at all. I don't want you to walk into your garden of life, closing your eyes, saying, there are no weeds, love and light, everything's amazing. It's not about blocking your eyes, but it's also not about walking into that garden being catastrophic. Everything's awful. This sucks. There's weeds everywhere. I can't do this. This is about walking into your garden of life and going, there are weeds, but there are weeds also because there is sunshine and because there is rain and because I have a garden and I have hands and I can collect tools and I can figure out how to make this garden a flourishing environment. I'm still going to have to maintain the weeds. Think about that. You're never going to get to a place where weeds aren't going to grow, because in any good garden, weeds will grow, because that's what a flourishing garden is. Only a dead garden doesn't have weeds. So when you're truly alive, you are going to have weeds, but it's learning how, A, to get on top of them. That's pulling out everything that you are not, and planting who you are becoming, and then nurturing those plants within inside of you. It's not catastrophic. It's not the end of the world. It's also not sunshine and rainbows. Let's see it as realistic as possible and get to work.
This is good. This is good. 0 to 7, you got a blueprint from your parents, your grandparents. I don't know. Some things mean something.
Culture,
And
society.
yeah. And your school teacher, everybody said this and that, and you're like, yeah, okay. 7 to 14, you're now beginning to model your parents, your teachers, anyone around you who's influential to you. You're like, maybe that's good, or maybe that's good. 14 to 21, you're now trying on different characters. This is good. Like, you're trying to be this person and this person and this person and this person. But now you're 40. Now you're 45. And none of that has served you.
Yeah.
And now what Luna is saying is, yeah, it's time to step in your garden and begin to appreciate what you can appreciate, and begin to weed out the things that you've carried on that you don't want. So your life is a garden. Step in and begin to take care of it. Begin to maintain it. Something is not serving you, remove it. If something is a weed, take it out. Until that garden is truly what you want. Until that garden is a garden you go to breathe and to flourish and to enjoy. Until that garden,
let us return to the Garden of Eden.
I like it.
Yes.
It's like this garden where you go and you're like, this is truly who I am. But you don't have to keep anything there that you don't want there. And just because you uproot the root, the weeds doesn't mean they move, because it's life. And it's going to keep happening, and the weeds are going to keep coming up. And your goal is to keep your garden as you want it. Your goal is to...
And there's going to be winter. There's going to be summer. There's going to be seasons of flourishing, of growth, of amazing things. And then it's going to go dormant. And you know, that after winter, the spring will come again and things will grow, and it's likely to get out of control. And then we'll move into the fall or into the autumn where things start to fade away again. There's going to be sunny days. There's going to be rainy days. Storms are going to come in. And I think that how many of us, a spiritual mentor of mine will tell the story, if you think you've done a lot of inner work, go spend a week with your parents. Right? Because you'll be triggered. How many of us go back to feeling like a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, 12-year-old when they're back with their parents or with their siblings? You go straight back into that version of you. That's because you're still running the pattern. You're still running the blueprint. You're still living in a garden that you didn't build. It's time to look at it and decide what kind of garden you want, for sure.
Luna, when you work with clients, what's the hardest part of moving forward into this life that they want? What is the hardest part of stopping to play too small? What is the hardest part of that leap of, you know what? This is the life I want, dead or alive. I'm stepping into this. What is the hardest part into stepping into this place where people feel free to go at whatever they want in life?
Fear.
Mm,
So what the ego fuel, what the fuel of the ego is fear. And what the ego hates more than anything is change.
mm,
So it will fight relentlessly to keep the status quo.
mm,
Your mind actually doesn't want you to change because
mm,
it's very comfortable. It's looking for safety. What we really have to understand here is the mechanism of this mind of ours. It's looking for safety to keep you alive. Again, it's its job to keep you safe, not to make you happy.
mm,
So at all costs, it will keep you where you are. It's why people who might lose weight will put it back on. It's why alcoholics go back to the alcohol. It's why, in abusive situations, people go back to it because we go back to what is known. Even if we don't like it, even if it's unsafe,
mm,
if it's familiar, the mind sees it as known, therefore comfortable,
mm,
therefore familiar, and therefore we want to keep the status quo. And that's why we need to not become the cruel dictator of our mind. We need to get our mind on board. We need
mm,
to have a really healthy relationship with fear where we lead it.
mm,
We acknowledge it and validate it. We thank it for trying to keep us safe because that's what it does all the time. We're not going to get rid of fear.
mm,
Again, it's the weeds. We're not trying to get rid of the worms in the garden. We're showing the worms where to go. I wholeheartedly believe that it's our responsibility to be the grown up and that our ego is the most immature part of us.
mm,
And it will be afraid. It doesn't want to change schools. It doesn't want to wear nappies. It doesn't want to, be toilet trained. If we're using that analogy,
mm,
anybody who's had kids will recognize that a child often doesn't want to grow up.
mm,
And our mind's the same. We don't want to grow up. We don't want to take responsibility. We don't want to make the changes. So
mm,
that's why the separation between our big self, what I refer to as wisdom or our soul, and our
mm,
small self, known as our ego. We need to have an element of separation from those things so that we can step into the role of wisdom
mm,
and be the leader for that fear, for that ego, for that immature part of us to grow. We must learn how to lead our fear.
mm,
That's the biggest obstacle, and that comes in the form of people think that sometimes fear is like gritting your teeth and going, "Oh, I'm so scared." Procrastination, self-sabotage, distraction, numbing are all fear signals. You're
mm,
shutting down, move into fight, flight, fright, fawn. All of these are fear responses. They show up
mm,
differently for different people. Maybe you reach to the chip packet when you're afraid. Maybe you scroll on social media when you're afraid. Whatever you're doing, you're avoiding the thing that you need to do because fear wants to keep you safe. So we need to learn to recognize it so we can lead it.
mm. Recognize and lead it, not avoid it, not ignore it. Recognize it and
Good
lead it.
luck. Good luck
Mm.
avoiding it. Good luck. Elizabeth Gilbert tells a beautiful story in her book, Big Magic, and I love it, Prima. She says that with fear
Mm.
for her, I just want to make sure that we are still here and you've still got me.
I got you, Luna, but
We
I
have
think
just
you're,
dropped out. Oh, hello. Yes, I've got you.
yeah, you're here, but I think your signal is red. So hopefully we can. I still have you though, so let's keep moving.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's just happened there. Um, I was just telling a story about. I'll start again.
Mm,
There's a beautiful story that Elizabeth Gilbert tells in her book Big Magic
mm,
about fear. And
mm,
she says, for years I used to put fear in the trunk of the car. Just shove it back just push it away. I don't want to deal with it. And I'd be
mm,
driving along in my car towards my dreams,
mm,
proverbially, and all of a sudden, bam, fear would come and take the steering wheel and change the music and cause havoc. And instead of shoving our fear in the trunk, what if we told it that it's coming with us?
mm,
Okay, fear, I know you're here. I know you're scared. I'm going to put you in the child seat in the back. I'm going
Mm.
to adjust my mirror and make sure that I can see you.
Mm.
You're coming with me. I know where you are, but you don't get to adjust the music. You don't get to navigate. You don't get to drive or steer. You can chuck a
Mm.
tantrum as much as you want in the back seat, but we're going. Safe and
Mm.
secure in the back. We are moving forward nonetheless. And I just love that analogy.
I love it. I think it's the perfect way for people to look at fear like, yeah, bring it along. It's not going away. You may
Mm,
as well bring it along. Luna, I want to kind of pivot a little bit and go into get happy and free. I'd love for you to
mhm,
dive into what you believe to be the most paramount lessons that you want people to pick up from there. Because I believe that some
mm.
people will be ready for your coaching, which do we have a way for people who are ready to do like to navigate coaching with you? What do you want them to do before we even get to the book? If I was thinking, Luna, I am playing too small, I have fear in the trunk, I just don't know, but I don't want this life. Like I'm done playing safe. I'm
Mhm.
done playing small. I want to have mental toughness and I want to kind of step into my second half, stronger than
Mm.
ever. And I want to have that conversation leading into are we a fit to work together? What should they do? What is their
Oh,
immediate step?
yeah, your immediate step is to go to lenariagaia.com. Go to my website, book in a call for us to have a conversation. The people that I'm looking for, I only work with a limited select of people every year.
Mm-hmm.
And my coaching books are open at the moment, which is highly convenient for everybody watching at home. There is, there's a process to it. I'm really looking for people. I want to make sure that we're a solid match. I don't work with
Mm,
everybody, and I
mm,
want to work with people who are ready to lean in. It's
mm,
okay that you're scared. It's okay that you're uncomfortable. It's okay that maybe you are nervous about the process. You don't have to be, quote, ready.
mm,
You need to be willing. You need to want it and be
mm,
willing to lean into the process of unpacking all of those layers, taking all those layers off. And it's going to be vulnerable at times. And
mm,
I've got you every step of the way. If you truly know that you want to do that and you're willing, then get in touch with me. Get in touch with me, book a call, let's have a conversation. And, perhaps that's not going to be for everyone. Perhaps you want to just follow me on social media. Perhaps you want to read Get Happy and Free or join one of my
mm,
courses.
mhm,
But if you're serious about actually making a difference in the world, then
mhm.
let's have a conversation.
If you are ready for the work, if you're ready for this, you know what? I am ready to jump full feet. And if Luna thinks you're a solid match, because you're either a solid match or nothing. And so hopefully you will be
Correct.
a solid match for Luna. There will be links in the show notes where you can book a call with Luna and you can have a chat. And if she decides that you're a solid match, off you will go to who knows what will happen to you after Luna. If I
Let the
am not
magic
ready for
happen.
coaching Luna and I love to tag along, I feel like if you're not ready for that step, your best next step is to buy the ball. That is what I feel, but she will tell us. But I feel like the next best step is to get the book, Get Happy and Free, Unlocking the Happiness Code. Before we tell them how to get it, I would love for you to dive in a little bit and tell us what you hope the reader gets by getting the book.
Mm.
Or is it the next best
Mm.
step, or do you want them to do something else?
Mm. Even when you asked it me just before around that, and you asked it to me again, what just came up really viscerally in my body is that you can.
Hmm.
If you learn anything from this book, is that you have the power within you. You
Hmm.
know, I think that we spend so much time, energy, and the world convinces us that we need something outside of us. And that doesn't mean we don't take a guide. It doesn't mean we don't get wisdom from other people, because I think that that's really important. I always work with a coach. I'm consistently, I did my Vipassana for the second time last year to tap into the wisdom of the universe. The reality is that you are far more powerful than you think you are, that the world
Hmm.
has convinced you. And if there's one thing that I can really help you is that you get to choose. You
Hmm.
get to decide how you want to be in this world. Yes, the outside circumstances you cannot control. You really can't. You
Mm,
can't control the weather. You can't control the political climate. You cannot decide what other people are going to think, feel, and behave. But there are three things that you can be in charge of,
mm,
and they're TBA: thoughts, beliefs, and actions. Most people spend 99% of their time trying to control everything that they can't. And that's why
mm,
we're exhausted. If instead you turn all that focus into your thoughts, beliefs, and actions, boom, you will tap into your infinite power, because that's the only thing that you really can control. We can't control outcomes. We don't know.
mm,
Tap into the power that you do have. You get to
mm,
decide how you see the world. You get to
mm.
decide what kind of garden you have.
Wow. I love it. It's like whatever is happening in your world, you've in a way let it. Like you get to decide what you think about, you get to decide what you believe, you get to decide
Yeah.
what you do. And truly, that is the only thing you can control. You can't control the
Yeah.
walls, you can't control where you were born. I was born in Uganda, I can't control that. I was
Mm-hmm.
born by parents who didn't know all these things. I can't control that. I was into the schools I was into. I couldn't control that. But what I think about,
Mm-hmm.
what I believe I can do, what I do every day is something I have consciously chosen. And so I love that. You can control your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions. And this book is going to give you a lot of other nuggets. It's going to tell you about stories from Luna. Luna, at one point, had hated her body. What to tell us about that? How you switched from hating your body to now all in love with yourself, no matter what. No matter
No
what
matter
numbers
what.
come, no matter what people think. I want to pick that lesson, Luna. Like, how did you move from, oh my God, I hate my body, to I actually don't care? Like, I don't really care what anybody says. Take us through that. Like,
Yeah.
what had to change for you?
Gosh, that's a whole other book too. Perfectly Imperfect is my first book, and and it's funny with that one, Prima, because I actually, the heaviest that I've ever been in my life is on the cover of this book. So on the cover of this
Whoa.
book, I appear in a bikini, and if you have a look on my face, right, like, such freedom, such, it's to me it.
What's
I
the
thought
book?
that
What's the title of the book?
Perfectly Imperfect.
Wow. Love
Yeah,
it.
and it's your complete guide to loving yourself and loving your body. So
Mm.
it's available everywhere, including Audible. I narrated it. So if you are more of an Audible kind of person, listen in there. You know, I spent my whole life thinking that if I could just get the right body, then I would love myself.
Mm.
Then I would be worthy of love. And eventually I developed an eating disorder, and I lost and put on 20 plus kilos at least 5 times
Wow.
before I sort of started to go, hang on a second, what if it wasn't my body?
Mm.
Again, what if it was my thoughts? What if it was the way I had a relationship with myself? What I came to realize was that I was in a long term, toxic, abusive relationship with myself.
Wow.
And I don't use those terms lightly at all. I'm
Wow.
talking pretty severe psychological abuse.
Mm.
And I think many of us can relate to it. Would we ever say to another human being the kind of things that we say in our own head around our food, around our body, around who we are? I would berate myself, beat myself up. Like in my head, we say, oh, yeah, I'm beating myself up. But I would be
Mm.
telling myself how, with lots of profanities, how awful I was, how unworthy I was, how like lacking in value I was, all because of my body and all because of who I thought I was.
Wow.
And that is a terribly painful place to be. That's psychological, let alone the physical abuse. So, that's dieting, restricting on food, forcing myself to go to the gym, overworking myself in the gym, moving to the point where I'd be so obsessed that I would eat uncontrollably in a binge and then purge it all up. I'm talking binge drinking, binge drugs, promiscuous sex, self harm, cutting. All of that was in my life from the age of, 12.
Mm.
And I was abusing myself. And as part of the coaching journey, as part of this personal development, I just came to really realize and collected a lot of data. There was no body positivity movement when I was going through the thick of this. There was no books around it necessarily. There was no movements. And for me, it was rather than thinking that there's got to be something wrong with me, what if there was something wrong with the way the world saw a body like mine?
Wow.
And it's quite ironic, actually, because that book, I published that first book 3 years ago, and I started writing it 5 years ago. I now in my life, I've actually never been fitter. I've never been healthier. I've never been stronger because despite the fact that I was 3 months postpartum in this book. So it was very important to me that I appeared on the cover, heaviest I'd ever been, 3 months after having a baby in a bikini, because that's how I felt about myself. And I
Mm.
continue to now. And, not even the realization for myself, I was like, oh, I love myself so much that I want to be even kinder to my body. Because
Mm.
before, when I lost weight, before when I exercised, it was punishment. If I just do this, then I'll be worthy. I was doing it from self hate. And now when I train, now when I eat the way that I do, now when I move my body, it is a gift. It's an honoring of the temple that I have been gifted with. And that's a
Whoa.
very, very different way to approach
Wow.
love, because now it's an act of love, not an act of hate.
Wow. A totally
Mm,
different world altogether. Isn't it
it
amazing
is.
how our lens affects our world? There's a beautiful woman that is coming on the podcast, and she said to me, Prima, you can create your hell on earth, or you can create your heaven on earth. And all of these options
Amen.
are in your hands, and you get to choose. And I was like, what a beautiful way to put it. In
Mm,
summary, what Luna is saying here is your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions get to create your reality. Your lens of the world gets to create everything.
mm,
There's heaven on earth, and there is hell on earth, and you get to choose. You can have a
yep.
garden full of weeds, and you can look at it every day and be angry and blame everybody and blame your parents and your grand.
Mm,
You can blame
mm,
the whole world, the circumstances, the kids, the husband, or you can, show up in that garden and weed it and take care of it and nurture it and make it your garden of Eden.
you really
You
can.
get to choose. Oh my
You
God.
really do.
I have enjoyed
Amen.
myself today. I have enjoyed myself today, and I am so excited for this episode to be released, Luna.
Me too.
What are you thinking about as your last words of wisdom? But I would also like for you to kind of tell the listener exactly where to go to connect with you in different capacities. Some people are ready for the book, some people are ready for coaching, some
Mhm.
people are ready to just give you a follow, become one of the 40,000 followers that are enjoying your raw footage. There's so many ways that we can get into your world, but I need you to tell people like exactly what are the entry points, and they can decide where they are at right now and what's good for them.
Yeah, I would agree. Look, my full name is Lenaria Gaia. And if you Google that, put a .com in front of it, put a Facebook/Lenaria Gaia, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you will find me, LinkedIn, Lenaria Gaia, as well as my own podcast where you have featured. So, if you want to go check out my episode with Prima as well. So my podcast is a great place for you to start. I have close to 200 episodes on the YouTube and the Spotify channel. So go check that out. Lenaria Gaia, Lenaria Gaia, Lenaria Gaia. If you remember that name, if you can write that down, you will be able to find me. So go give me a follow. I post every day. We're
Mm.
talking reels, we're talking written content, long form content. There is so much juicy gold that I give to the world for free,
Mm.
and that's as a generous offering for everybody to be able to get access, because I know that not everybody is necessarily ready to go down that path.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are, and when you are willing to go
Mm-hmm.
down that path, then
Mm-hmm.
head to lenariaguide.com and apply for some coaching.
Yeah.
At the very least, book a conversation, because I have courses that are available. Another one starting in about 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a foundational course on how to really claim your confidence. We talk about
Mm-hmm.
your fears and your doubts and your beliefs, all that blueprint stuff that we've been talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real foundational program to which I teach you about your blueprint and how to change it. The date hasn't been set yet, but it's coming out in about, 6 or 7 weeks will be the next live course that I run online. So it's available to everyone there. Can be a really nice option for people who may not be quite willing to lean as hard into the one-on-one stuff, but you want to get some momentum rolling there. And of course, you can find my book in all good online kind of places. Again, Lunaria Gaia. You can buy signed copies available there now as well on my website.
There you have it. Lunaria, Lunaria, Gaia, Gaia. Everywhere. Just Google her and you will find her. There's many places you could be. I can appreciate that you might be in a place where you don't even think you're worthy of the change, where you don't even feel like you're worthy or that next life, and that's okay. Social media, follow her. Sometimes you need somebody to help you give yourself permission to step into the place that you need to. And I feel like every time I look at her work, she's so raw that you begin to question if you've given yourself the permission to be you. Like, she's so raw, she's so authentic, she's so it. Like, when you watch her and you're kind of tiptoeing around your life, you get to ask the question, like, why am I tiptoeing around my own life? Why is she able to do that? I can't. And so sometimes you need a dose of, I don't know, inspiration. Sometimes you need somebody to show you that it's okay to not look like everybody else. It's okay to not fit in. It's okay not to have success the way everybody else has. And I feel like she does that so well. So depending on where you're at, follow her on any social media platform. Pick her books. She's one of those people who every time they write a book, somehow it makes it to the top shelves of Amazon. What does that say? It says a lot about this is real stuff in the trenches, in the real world application. She's teaching, like, she's writing these books from her own scars. The school of hard knocks. There's books people write to just be famous. And then there is the books people write because of the sweat, tears, frustrations they've encountered. And hopefully when you read that book, you don't have to go through the same thing. And I feel like she's that writer who is writing from her scars. And I believe that's why her books get up there so quickly. So if you're at a place where you want to get the book instead, dive in. If you're at a place where you want to follow, dive in. If you're at a place where you're like, you know what, I've had it. It's been 40 years, 45. And I don't know the last time I felt good about myself, the last time I felt good about my body, the last time I felt so fired up about what I'm doing. And I am ready and willing right now. Full body, yes, I want to change my life. Go to Lunaria's website or just click in the show notes, wherever you're watching this. There will be explicit links to go and book a call and follow her wherever you are. You could have been on a million other podcasts in the world. You chose this one. And I do not take your time for granted. I want to appreciate you and celebrate you for your time. If you know one person, one woman, they've gone through life, they've done some amazing things, but they feel like, I feel like I've played safe. I'm not existing. I am not thriving. I am somewhere stuck in mediocrity. That woman who needs to snap back and step into her truest essence. If you know that woman, do one thing for us. Send this episode to this one woman and let them listen. I would love for more of the right people to meet Lunaria. And that can be you, that doesn't have to be you. But if you know someone that needs to meet her and you're like, I know my friend would love her, please forward this episode to them. And that is how we hope to change the world, one person at a time. Follow, subscribe, all of the amazing things. If you do that, the channel grows. And when the channel grows, I can play a much bigger game. I can bring on much, much better guests. So the quality of the people I bring on depends on the quality of the game you and I are playing. Are we subscribing? Are we rating? Are we reviewing? Are we sharing? That's all in our power to do. And once we do those things, there's no ad that can compete with us. We will grow this community and we will be up there in the charts. Appreciate you, my friend. I am super excited for this. I want to give Lunaria a chance to give you her last words of wisdom, and we will just stop at that. Lunaria, your last words of wisdom for that woman who is there. They want to do it, but The fear is in their neck saying, maybe not. I want you to speak into them and help them jump over that fence.
Yeah. I have a prayer for you. Whatever it's the universe, God, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, whatever your thing is, a prayer that I often say for myself. I say, God, please let my faith be bigger than this fear. Let me be bigger than the obstacles. Change me into one who can overcome and become the person that I need to be in order to fulfill my destiny.
Wow. Until next time, my friend. That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the world's best kept secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.